a stay on the survey. In fact, it has now moved the matter to the Allahabad High Court. The Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, urged for maintenance of peace and harmony while halting any further actions by the trial court, which had initially ordered the survey based on claims by the Hindu petitioners that a temple previously existed at the site. The Supreme Court has said that the Advocate Commissioner can file a survey report, but added that peace committees should be formed to maintain peace and harmony. The next hearing will be after 6th of January. Both the Hindu side and the mosque committee say this order from the Supreme Court is in their favor. While the Hindu side has called for religious justice, the Muslim side has called the legal case a communal conspiracy. Let's also take you through the clash of charges. The Hindu side is saying that this directive coming from the Supreme Court is not a setback. It is satisfied with the order. The Masjid side is saying that we see a ray of hope in Supreme Court's order. The Hindu side at the same time maintains that the mosque was built after demolishing the Harihar temple. The Masjid side says that there was no remnant of the temple being beneath the mosque. The Hindu side in fact has quoted the ASI survey and saying that it will unravel the truth. The Masjid side says that the civil court order has inflamed communal tensions. The Hindu side has also maintained that the Masjid committee is using the temple forcibly and unlawfully, while the Masjid side is saying that the former CJI Chandrachud's order back in the year 2022 has in fact opened the floodgates. The technical aspect of a survey has not been dismissed. However, the ASI in its affidavit has made some stunning charges, pointing to a concerted conspiracy to derail its court-mandated function. Let me also take you through those charges. The first charge is that there has been interference by locals and the Masjid committee. And the second charge is that ASI officials stopped from entering the structure when they were trying to conduct a survey. The third charge is that the last inspection of the site was carried out back in the year June of 2024. The fourth charge is that the Masjid side made modifications to the entire monument, which is why they are now claiming that there was no temple beneath the Jama Masjid. The fifth and an equally important charge is that the Places of Worship Act does not apply to this entire structure. Please note that. The sixth charge is that the monument is a protectee of the ASI since the year 1920. Now, getting to the truth of the matter is the function of the judiciary, which has been invoked by the Hindu side. But in this clash of faith and politics, who is vitiating this entire legal process? That's a big question that we'll be in fact posing to our esteemed panelists today.
The Honorable Supreme Court has directed them to file their petition, and if it is filed before the High Court, it should be listed within 3 working days. Court had expressed its concern over peace and harmony to be maintained in the region.
पीस और हार्मनी मेंटेन रहना चाहिए, मतलब अमन और शांति मेंटेन रहे. जब तक वो अपील की सुनवाई नहीं होगी हाई कोर्ट में, तब तक निचली अदालत में, सिविल जज की कोर्ट में, संभल में जो सूट है वो आगे प्रोसीड नहीं करेगा. वो स्टे हो गया, स्टे ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग हो गया.
जानने का मकसद ये है कि जिस तरह से चंद्रचूड़ जी जो पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस थे, उनके एक फैसले से गलत प्रेरणा लेकर के निचली अदालतें सर्वे के ऑर्डर पास कर रही हैं जो 1901 के जो एक्ट है, जो फर्शिप एक्ट है, उसके खिलाफ है. और यहाँ पर जो दंगा भड़काया गया है, खास तौर पर उकसाया गया, लोगों को होश का पानी निकाला गया, जबकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने मना किया था किसी भी सर्वे के दरमियान किसी चीज़ से छेड़छाड़ नहीं की जाएगी.
मैं माननीय न्यायालय के फैसले का स्वागत करता हूं और समाजवादी पार्टी और उनके गुंडों, अपराधियों, माफियाओं, दंगाइयों को हिदायत देता हूं कि माहौल ख़राब करने की कोशिश ना करें.
That note, let me introduce our esteemed panelists today. I'm joined in by Mr. Alok Awasthi, who is the spokesperson for the UP BJP, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, who is the national spokesperson for the Samajwadi Party, Sumit Chandar, who is a renowned advocate at the Supreme Court, and Atikur Rahman, who is also a renowned Islamic scholar. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in. Ghanshyam Tiwari, if I may begin with you. So far, if Ziaur Rahman Bark has been criticizing the entire survey, saying that the Jama Masjid should not have been surveyed because it comes under the Places of Worship Act. Today it has been proven by the ASI that it is an ASI protected monument and Places of Worship Act has nothing to do with it. Do you not agree that the Samajwadi Party MP is now doing a disservice to the nation by propagating misinformation, hence also provoking the people of the country?
Good evening to you, the viewers and the fellow co-panelists. Let me not go into these big words of who's provoking, who is not. Let me just read from the Indian Express of today. The suit was presented on November 19 and the same day the trial court in an ex parte, without listening to the other side, order allowed the request of appointing an advocate commissioner for survey of the mosque, the piece said. It added that the order gave no reason as to why the application was being considered ex parte and why was it allowed. The court also gave no reasons nor any terms of reference for the survey. Are we a banana system? We have a chief minister who before chief minister had serious criminal charges against him, including charges of creating enmity between on religious grounds.
Who's
including
creating
charges
enmity?
of attempt to murder. That
Who's
is,
creating enmity? If you are in fact misrepresenting
Akansha,
facts,
can I complete?
No, Ghanshyam,
we are not fighting.
We are not fighting, but please answer my question. Are you not acknowledging that facts have been misrepresented when a Bark says that this entire monument is protected under the Places of Worship Act? Do you not agree that that is misinformation and spreading misinformation on camera?
Please allow me to complete. I quoted the Indian Express. If it is Indian Express is spreading misinformation, anybody can go to the court. Point number one. Point number two, we have a Batenge Katenge chief minister, whose model is Batenge Katenge, who had serious charges against him before he became the chief minister. Point number three, the media has reported clearly that an order was passed. It was not passed with sound appeals from both sides. It was expedited. People were not prepared, and eventually we have seen videos of how even the police was not prepared. Eventually 4 people lost their lives. It does not matter what you and I are saying. Neither of us have lost a family member. The fact is, in the Batenge Katenge model, the poor lose their family members, and some people will like to debate about it.
Right. Sure, go ahead, attack the government, but do it on the basis of facts. I am with you if you want to question the government, but do it on the basis of facts. Don't twist and turn the facts. Let me quickly bring in Sumit Chandar. Sumit Chandar, what has the ASI stated today? Let's have it straight from the horse's mouth. You being a legal person, please put it on record.
You need to understand this. There are 2 acts which are important here. One, of course, is the Places of Worship Act, which one party is claiming that they are protected under Section 4. And there is the other act is your archaeological site under the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act. Now, both the acts are there in place. Now, let's go one by one to both the acts. Insofar as the first act is concerned, Supreme Court, in fact, Justice Chandrachud, as you rightly pointed out, in May 2022, Justice Chandrachud said that although changing the nature of the religious place is barred under the 1991 law, but inquiry into what was the nature of the place of worship as on 15th August 1947 can be allowed.
Right.
Even if that nature cannot be subsequently changed. So doing a survey is not barred anywhere. So that rules out the question as
Sumit, considering Mohibullah Nadvi of the Samajwadi Party has today said, or rather accused the former Chief Justice of India of opening a Pandora's box, referring to the 2022 ruling, I want to ask you, was that interpretation not based on the Places of Worship Act, or was that his own doing?
Not at all. See, let us not put the blame on the CGI for this. He is very clear. CGI does not make the laws. It's the government that makes the law. Yes, the law is deficient in some manner where there is an interpretation required. It is the Supreme Court who comes into play and then gives a very logical reasoning to it.
Ghanshyam Tiwari, why is Mohibullah Nadvi then blaming the former CJI of India?
When you have a बटेंगे कटेंगे चीफ मिनिस्टर and a बटेंगे कटेंगे एक है तो सेफ है प्राइम मिनिस्टर,
तो आप भी बटेंगे कटेंगे
and you have a
करेंगे।
verdict that BJP will misuse. Are you going to allow me to speak, or I can listen to you, but I cannot speak in half sentences.
No, you are talking about batenge katenge,
We have
but
a
that's
batenge
exactly
katenge
what the opposition is also resorting
Yes,
to.
I'm saying that is your accusation. Allow me to complete. I don't speak in half sentences. We have a batenge katenge chief minister. We have a batenge katenge prime minister who also says in a different way, ek hai to safe hai. And we have an administration that looks at political benefit of such kind of riots. Which is the reason why 4 people lost their life. Not you, not me,
Let him
not the
finish,
lawyers.
let him finish,
It is the
otherwise he'll say I'm not
improper
allowing him.
administrator. It is a hasty court and an aggressive administration that is responsible for 4 people losing their lives and several people losing their livelihoods. So I don't believe that anybody here from BJP has the right to preach. They want this model across the country, and this model they go more than anybody else.
All right.
They go to the order passed by the former Chief Justice to depend on it.
But you just heard what Sumit Chandar is saying, that it was not an order, that was his own doing. It was based on the existing act, where he says that section 3 and 4 do not in fact cry foul when it comes to ascertaining the religious nature of a religious structure. Alok Avasthi, may I bring you in? आपने सुना अभी घनश्याम जी क्या कह रहे हैं? वो कह रहे हैं कि जो भी आज हम उत्तर प्रदेश में होते देख रहे हैं, संभल में भी जो हो रहा है, वो योगी आदित्यनाथ की कटेंगे बटेंगे फिलॉसफी पे बेस्ड है।
देखिए, घनश्याम तिवारी झूठ बोलने के अलावा अपने अध्यक्ष के तरीके से ये भी फेमस है। मैं साफ साफ कहना चाहता हूँ, ये 7 सीटें हारने के बाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी 7 सीटें जीती है, 9 में से 7 सीटें जीती है। इनके होश फाख्ता होगा कि मुसलमानों ने वोट क्यों नहीं दिया। कुंदरकी की सीट पर जो संभल लोकसभा में आती है, 1,44,000 वोट से समाजवादी पार्टी के प्रत्याशी हारा है और बीजेपी के प्रत्याशी 1,44,000 वोट से जीता है। मुसलमानों का 65% वोट वहां पर है। मुसलमानों ने सारा वोट जो है इस बार बीजेपी के प्रत्याशियों को दिया है। उसके बाद से लगातार हिंसक बयान वहां पे हो रहे हैं। वहां पर सांसद जो है उन्होंने हिंसक बयान दिए, भड़काया लोगों को। अखिलेश यादव कवर फायर दे रहे हैं उसको। अखिलेश यादव की नीति रही है कि बात और
जानते हैं कि वहां पे भड़काऊ बयान चल रहे थे, तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन क्या कर रहा था? आज फ्राइडे प्रेस तो बड़ी पीसफुली हो गई, वो उस दिन क्यों नहीं उतना पीसफुली हो पाया जब आपको पता था कि इतनी बड़ी जगह जो कि एक हिस्टोरिक मॉन्यूमेंट है वहां का जामा मस्जिद, वहां का सर्वे होने वाला है, आप तब प्रिपेयर्ड क्यों नहीं थे?
देखिए आकांक्षा जी, मैं स्पष्ट रूप से कहना चाहूंगा, सर्वे का जो हुआ वो कोर्ट के आदेश से हुआ। 19 तारीख को भी सर्वे हुआ और वहां पर उस समय तत्कालीन सांसद ने बर्क ने जाकर के वहां पे लोगों को भड़काया। उस दिन वहां पे उन्होंने रोका। उसके बाद 23 तारीख को रिजल्ट आया और रिजल्ट आने के बाद 24 तारीख को जो इस तरह से हिंसा इन्होंने करी है उसकी प्लानिंग की सूचना पुलिस को थी। पुलिस पूरी तरह से तैयार थी। अगर पुलिस तैयार नहीं होती तो पूरे जिले को जला देते, जिस तरह से मुजफ्फरनगर जला और 28 दिन तक दंगा होता रहा। ये संभल को जलाते और उससे पूरी आज जो है पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश को फैलती, क्योंकि मुसलमान वोट इनके हाथ छिटक कैसे गया इसको ये बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाए और इन्होंने सुनियोजित रूप से, पुलिस ने पार्टी बनाया सांसद को, पता है सांसद को कि सांसद जो है इसने बिल को भटकाया और दंगा कराने का प्रयास किया। पुलिस की पूरी तैयारी थी।
मुझे ये बताइए, एफआईआर में जब ये कहा गया है कि जियाउर रहमान बर्क और महमूद इकबाल दोनों ने वहां पे दंगा भड़काया, तब आप लोग ये क्यों कह रहे हैं कि वो उनकी खुद की राइवलरी का किया धरा था ये सारा दंगा?
वहां पर ये राइवलरी खुली है। वहां पर तुर्क वर्सेस पठान आज से नहीं हो रहा है, काफी समय से हो रहा है। पठान अपनी राजनीति को वहां पर नहीं कर पा रहे क्योंकि तुर्क वहां पे हावी है। पठान राजनीतिक रूप से मजबूत है और संख्या में ज्यादा है, इसीलिए इस बार पठानों ने सारा वोट भारतीय जनता पार्टी के हाथ में दिया है। आप बताइए 24 ट्रक ट्रैक्टर ट्रॉली वहां से पत्थर बटोरे गए हैं, यानी कि कितनी बड़ी तैयारी इन्होंने की थी। पुलिस सजग थी, पुलिस ने अपनी आत्मरक्षा के लिए गोलियां नहीं चलाई, नहीं तो वहां पे
going by what the BJP is claiming, is this a case of sour grapes?
देखिए, मैं हिंदी में जवाब देना चाहता हूं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी का सच उतना ही ताकतवर है जितना मोदी जी की डिग्री। आज हम संसद में इस पर संभल पर बहस करना चाहते हैं।
करिए,
कौन संसद में, मैं बीच में किसी के बीच में नहीं टोक रहा था, मैं किसी के बीच में नहीं टोक रहा था, मैं किसी के बीच में नहीं टोक रहा था।
आलोक अवस्थी, सुन तो लीजिए घनश्याम जी क्या बोलना चाह रहे हैं। आलोक अवस्थी,
मैं किसी के बीच में नहीं टोक रहा था, ऐसे बहस नहीं होती है, ऐसे
आलोक अवस्थी सुन तो लीजिए वो क्या कह रहे हैं। घनश्याम तिवारी, प्लीज लेट्स not attack the prime minister. He has nothing to do with Uttar Pradesh at the moment, as we
मैंने I repeat, I said the strength.
आलोक जी, मैं सुन सकती हूँ कि वो क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं। घनश्याम तिवारी,
I will repeat, I said भारतीय जनता पार्टी का सच उतना ही ताकतवर है जितना मोदी जी की डिग्री। इसमें आलोचना क्या है? पहली बात,
घनश्याम तिवारी, you cannot get personal like this. How can you attack the prime minister
पर्सनल क्या है
and his education credentials?
इसमें अटैक क्या है?
Again, you know, this is the classic problem with the Samajwadi Party. You want to question the establishment, you want to question the government, go ahead, do that, but do it on hard facts.
Akansha, what is the attack here?
Your MPs are misrepresenting fact. Let me tell you, on what basis is... No, I want to ask you one. I want to ask you one very concrete question. On what basis is Ziaur Rahman Barq saying that the Jama Masjid has... Alok Avasthi, let me please complete my question. On what basis is Barq saying that the Jama Masjid has no remnants of a temple? On what basis is he saying that? When you have a report from the Britishers' time, the Babarnama in fact goes on to enlist all those details. In fact, Babar in his Babarnama has clearly mentioned how there was worship happening. There's a British report from the 18th century, which has in fact compared the pillars of the mosque with those structures of temples, and yet Barq would not acknowledge that. And that's all the more reason for an ASI survey to be conducted over there. Would you not agree, घनश्याम तिवारी?
You may have, and Alok may have a PhD in history, I don't have. Allow me to say 2 sentences. I want to submit to your
Thank
viewers
you. Thank you. At least I've researched my facts.
That, please allow me to complete 2 sentences. I cannot debate like this. We have been humbly requesting this government that we want to debate this in Parliament. The Parliament is right now in session. Mr. Barq is a member of Parliament. He will speak in the Parliament, provided this government that wants to save Adani will allow the Parliament to function. This is the first time that a government who wants to save Adani will not discuss Manipur in Parliament, not discuss Sambhal in Parliament. All these questions will get answered. What is a more privileged place in the nation, a democracy, than the Parliament? Each member of Parliament has at least 30 lakh voters behind him and supporters behind him in that constituency. A government that wants to save Adani because the US justice system has accused him of bribery charges would not allow this discussion to happen. And then you have a Batenge Katenge chief minister whose administration,
as far as even that indictment is
concerned,
as a result, the External Affairs Ministry has also talked about how India was not even informed before that indictment was in fact sent out. But I'm not even going to dilute my debate by getting into that. Atikur Rahman, as an Islamic scholar, I want to ask your view. Mr. Rahman, I want to ask your view. When it comes to this entire survey, we've been talking about how this is an ASI protected monument. Does that now not change the entire, the kind of allegations, the kind of accusations that are now being hurled at the government? Should the Muslim side not also cooperate and go ahead and let them ascertain the religious nature of the entire structure, if it is an ASI protected monument, which has already been stated now in the affidavit and has been acknowledged by the Supreme Court as well?
Akanksha, my belief is that any community, the priority should be the unity of the nation.
True.
And amity amongst the communities, not a masjid and a mandir. As far as the Muslim youth are concerned, I can assure you that our priority is not a mandir or a masjid, any religious argument related to disturbing peace. Second is, so far, after 1991 and the Babri Masjid dispute, which got converted into a very huge temple, Ram temple, we accepted the Supreme Court verdict, and we had a sigh of relief that furthermore, 2 major communities, the Hindus and the Muslims, will be living amicably henceforth. Maybe that we were wrong, ascertaining that the entire philosophy of the 1991 Places of Worship Act was to stop any claims and counterclaims on religious places. Maybe we were wrong. If today the Supreme Court will be explaining to the community that no, as the former CJI said, that no, we will ascertain it. What next? Explain it to the community, and I assure you that we will listen to the Supreme Court. So far, we might be having a different, aspect, saying that henceforth there won't be any dispute. But if ascertaining a religious character of a place will be arriving at disputes and disputes and disputes, what exactly will be gained? Is this communal amity between the religious communities? Is this the priority of the present day government or the Supreme Court or any of the?
All right. Point taken. And I think. All right, Alok Awasthi, I'll let you in fact come up with a response to that. सबसे बड़ा सवाल यही है कि इस तरह का ध्रुवीकरण कब तक चलता रहेगा? When will we be able to place an end to this kind of polarization? कभी ज्ञानवापी है, कभी मथुरा है, अब आप जामा मस्जिद की बात कर रहे हैं, हम अजमेर शरीफ तक पहुंच चुके हैं. बहुतों का ये सवाल उठ रहा है अब कि where will this end? How do you ensure historical justice? What is the definition of historical justice? I want to ask the BJP.
देखिए आकांक्षा जी, किसी भी भारत के नागरिक को अपने किसी भी समाधान के लिए कोर्ट जाने का अधिकार है. भारतीय जनता पार्टी से कहीं पार्टी नहीं है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने कोई मुद्दा भी नहीं उठाया. लेकिन कोई व्यक्ति अगर न्याय पाने के लिए कोर्ट गया है, उसके जवाब में क्या पत्थरबाजी चलाई जाएगी, देश को अराजकता में झोंका जाएगा? और जिस तरीके से ये जो प्रवक्ता बैठे हैं घनश्याम तिवारी, बात सब आप संभल की कर रही है, ये अमेरिका चला गया. इनसे पूछिए कि इनकी पार्टी का जो नेता सरकार अखिलेश यादव सत्ता में था तो आतंकवादियों, दंगाइयों और अपराधियों की पौबारा क्यों थी? आतंकवादियों के मुकदमे क्यों छोड़े गए थे? दंगे हर महीने हर जिले में क्यों होते थे? 650 दंगे जो है उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार के सबसे काला अध्याय जो अखिलेश यादव सरकार में हुआ. इसी वजह से अखिलेश यादव दोबारा सत्ता में नहीं आ पा रहे हैं. 2014 से सारे चुनाव लगातार हारते जा रहे हैं, चाहे वो
घनश्याम तिवारी, I want to hear.
चाहे जिला पंचायत
चुनाव
में हम लोगों ने इनको
आपने सवाल उठाए, घनश्याम तिवारी की भी सुन लीजिए.
तो ये घटिया प्रवक्ता जो है, जो यहाँ पे
नहीं, यहाँ पे पर्सनल नहीं होना है, कोई यहाँ पे घटिया नहीं है. नहीं, आलोक जी प्लीज डू नॉट यूज सच पर्सनल अटैक्स. आई विल नॉट अप्रूव ऑफ इट. नो आलोक जी, आई रिस्पेक्ट ऑल ऑफ यू ओवर हियर एंड यू आर नॉट टू गेट पर्सनल ओवर हियर. नो आलोक अवस्थी, प्लीज, किसी को आप घटिया नहीं बोल सकते हैं. Ghanshyam Tiwari, on his behalf, I apologize to you for these personal attacks. Please go ahead and come up with your response.
Akansha, thank you. It's very gracious of you. This is the standard line of BJP. जो आलोक अवस्थी बोल रहे हैं वही भाषा प्रधानमंत्री की है, वही भाषा, वही संस्कार
प्रधानमंत्री की बात.
तो मैं इससे बिल्कुल
प्रधानमंत्री देश को
यही संस्कार जो आलोक अवस्थी के संस्कार है, वही संस्कार
Ghanshyam Tiwari, let's not attack the Prime Minister. If you have to, you heard.
वही संस्कार आदित्यनाथ के हैं.
आप गाली बकते रहिए, जितना आप गालियां प्रधानमंत्री को देंगे हम उसको फूलों की माला अपने पहनेंगे हम आपके गालियों से. जनता ने आपको नचा के रखा हुआ है, सत्ता में नहीं आ पा रहे हैं, किनारे पड़े हुए हैं. 9 विधानसभा के उपचुनावों में 7 सीटों पे भाजपा जीती है. आपको अपनी हैसियत पता नहीं चल पा रही है. प्रधानमंत्री पे किस आदेश में बोल रहे हैं आप? ये प्रधानमंत्री के नाम पे बोल करके अपनी टीआरपी जुटाने की कोशिश मत करिए. अपनी हैसियत देखिए, उसके बाद बात करिए.
Then I don't have anything else to say. If he is the anchor,
बिल्कुल नहीं, आपको अधिकार है क्योंकि आपके पास.
I just want you to quickly respond to those allegations coming in that the entire violence in Sambhal has also been a result of the kind of provocations that have happened, and that why are they questioning the BJP when we've seen the kind of regime under an Akhilesh Yadav when violence was a daily routine in Uttar Pradesh.
देखिए, ये जो बटेंगे कटेंगे सरकार है, बटेंगे कटेंगे मुख्यमंत्री हैं और ये बटेंगे कटेंगे मॉडल है. We have seen this in Manipur.
But Ghanshyam Tiwari, we were seeing. I'm sure you will agree the crime rate was equally high.
Again, he could not.
Because you're constantly digressing. You went to the United States. Now you're coming to Manipur. Let's talk about Uttar Pradesh.
I can keep quiet. I can keep quiet. I can keep quiet. But if you allow me to complete, I will say something. Whether it is Manipur, you see the Batenge-Katenge model. Whether it is Sambhal, you see the Batenge-Katenge model. Whether you Bahraich, you saw the Batenge-Katenge model. The Batenge-Katenge model is there because if you look at the results of today, of the GDP growth numbers, it is lowest in 8 quarters. This government cannot give you growth, it cannot give you employment, it cannot help you fight the inflation. The only thing it can give you is hate, and through its Batenge-Katenge model.
अखिलेश यादव तो गुंडों का सत्ता दे रखे थे। अखिलेश यादव दंगाइयों को दूध पिला रहे थे। अखिलेश यादव सरकार में दंगाई जो है मौज कर रहे थे। और अखिलेश यादव का जो मॉडल है दंगाई मॉडल,
this idiot has to be shut off. Alok Awasthi is an idiot and he should be shut off.
No, you are an idiot.
Alok Awasthi is an absolute idiot. The viewers are seeing this.
आप झूठ की बुनियाद पर जो है यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं।
Alok Awasthi and Ghanshyam Tiwari are not going to tolerate any personal attacks. Please, let's not get personal over here. Please, let's maintain some sanctity. You are on a public debate over here, and you cannot make these personal attacks. आप लोगों को मुद्दे पे चर्चा करनी है, आपको फैक्ट्स पे अटैक करना है, आप फैक्ट्स से लड़िए ना। पर्सनल अटैक्स क्यों कर रहे हैं आप लोग?
जब तथ्य नहीं होते हैं तो घटिया बात की जाती है।
तो आलोक अवस्थी जरा उनको भी सुन लीजिए आप।
बीच में नहीं बोल रहा था,
वो कह रहे हैं ना आपके बीच में नहीं बोल रहे, तो सुन लीजिए जरा। घनश्याम तिवारी, आई गिव यू 30 सेकंड्स। यस, आई विल। आलोक जी, घनश्याम तिवारी,
आज जीडीपी ग्रोथ के आंकड़े आए हैं, वो 8 तिमाहियों में सबसे कम है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी आपको विकास नहीं दे सकती, आपको रोजगार नहीं दे सकती, महंगाई से लड़ने की शक्ति नहीं दे सकती, आपको केवल गरीबी देती है, दर्द देती है, अत्याचार देती है और बटेंगे कटेंगे मॉडल देती है। वो बहराइच में भी देगी, संभल में भी देगी, और जहां जहां आपको लगेगा कि इस पार्टी को हटाना है इस उपचुनाव में या चुनाव में, वो आपको नफरत भरे बटेंगे कटेंगे मॉडल से और उसके तरह तरह के प्रवक्ताओं से और मंत्रियों से, मुख्यमंत्रियों से और प्रधानमंत्री के एक है तो सेफ है जैसे नारों से आपको घुमाएगी फिराएगी, लेकिन आपको वो नहीं देगी जो आपको चाहिए।
You know, there has been a clear-cut misrepresentation of facts by MPs from your own party. You have easily dodged that question.
We will speak in the parliament.
Okay, Alok Awasthi.
We will speak in the parliament when Mr. Adani.
What is the point of having your party's representation on the show if you are only waiting for the parliament to carry that discussion? What will you speak in the parliament that you will not be able to address on air? Okay, Alok Awasthi, let me hear.
आकांक्षा जी, ये
Akansha, I am not a member of parliament. When Mr. Adani and Mr. Modi allow us to speak in
But
parliament,
please defend your MPs on the basis of facts. Alok,
our MP is an elected MP. He will speak in the parliament when Mr. Adani allows us to speak.
समाजवादी पार्टी जो है दंगाइयों के साथ खड़े होने वाली पार्टी है, पत्थरबाजों के साथ खड़े होने वाली पार्टी है, अराजकता फैलाने वालों के साथ खड़ी होने वाली पार्टी है। 11वीं अर्थव्यवस्था से प्रधानमंत्री ने 5वीं बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था को भारत में पहुंचाया। उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर हर जिले के अंदर मेडिकल कॉलेजेस बने हमारे यहाँ। आज देश के अंदर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में सबसे ज्यादा बढ़ोतरी जो है प्रधानमंत्री के कार्यकाल में हुई है। और जो आपका ईपीएफओ का आंकड़ा है वो 18 करोड़ रोजगारों के ऊपर जो है वहां पर सबसे ऑथेंटिक आंकड़ा है। पूछे घनश्याम तिवारी के समय पे तो अपराधियों को रोजगार मिलता था, दंगाइयों को रोजगार मिलता था, आतंकवादियों के मुकदमे छोड़ करके उनके हौसले बढ़ाए जाते थे। और आज ये रोना इसलिए रो रहे हैं कि इन दंगाइयों को आपने पीट के रखा हुआ है, उठा के बंद किया हुआ है। किसी दंगाई की हिम्मत नहीं है कि दंगा करके जा सके। हम उनकी संपत्तियों को कुर्क करते हैं, उनकी फोटो चौराहे पर लगाते हैं और इन दंगाइयों को, संभल के दंगाइयों को भी इनके घरों से पकड़ करके लाएंगे, सजा दिलाएंगे। सरकारी प्रॉपर्टी जो तोड़ी गई है उसकी वसूली होगी। और ये जितना रोना रोते रहे दंगाइयों के पक्ष में, हम लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को बिगड़ने नहीं देंगे और इनके किसी भी मंसूबे को कामयाब नहीं होने देंगे। इनका काम है प्रधानमंत्री को गाली देना, इनका काम है योगी जी को गाली देना। क्यों गाली देना? क्योंकि इनकी अराजकता वाली सरकार को हम जनता नहीं आने दे रही है। हमारे अच्छे कामों को जनता पसंद कर रही है। लगातार दूसरी बार यूपी के अंदर सरकार भाजपा की आई है, देश में लगातार तीसरी सरकार और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की आई है। ये इनको हजम नहीं हो पा रहा, ये वोट के बैलेट से हरा नहीं पा रहे, तो गालियां दे करके अपनी इच्छा को शांत कर रहे हैं।
Atikur Rahman, let me quickly bring in Atikur Rahman right now. Atikur Rahman, I'm sure you will agree that Mohan Bhagwat also had said that you cannot keep going looking for a shivling in every masjid. Henceforth, do you really think that that kind of polarization is being preached by Hindu organizations like the RSS? I'm sure you'll agree that that's not the case. He said that in Nagpur back in the year 2022.
That his statement was a very welcome step, and that too gave a sigh of relief to the community. That furthermore, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat would be listened by the Hindutva forces. But I think, they had taken Mr. Bhagwat's statement in a very, very negative sense. he said not to go to the mosque and find the sibling, and they are going. So what does this, gives us a sense? The sense is that the BJP is harboring such elements so that they can, do the same thing as it was done on the Ayodhya matter. And again, I would say that even to the SP spokesperson and the BJP, you leaders should come out and say what I am saying, that these are not our priority. Our nation needs priorities only for development. The communal enmity will not do us any favor. The priorities of a nation in view of Bangladesh, what is happening there, and we have seen Pakistan, what it is going through, then India is having a might to give a clear message.
All right, I want to quickly end with Sumit Chandra's thoughts. Sumit, there's no denial in the fact that masjids are central for the religious lives and the sentiments of Muslims. And at the same time, if there has to be an ascertaining of the religious nature of a particular structure, why should a survey be considered so problematic that we witness the kind of violence we have in the days gone by in Sambhal?
Akanksha, I'll summarize this. Let us take a different viewpoint to this. There is a citizen who wants to ascertain what was the actual nature of it at a certain point.
Right.
Nothing more than that. Secondly, so far as the Jama Masjid of Sambhal is concerned, it's slightly different from the other cases because Section 4(3) of the Places of Worship Act says that this act does not apply to ancient monuments which are covered under the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Act. And the Jama Masjid, so far as this case is concerned, is protected monument under Section 3, subsection 3 of that act. So this case is slightly different. You cannot use the same Places of Worship Act to talk about protect this monument itself. And even otherwise, be that as it may, here is a citizen of the country who is only asking to ascertain what was the status of it at a certain point of time. Nothing more than that. He is not even asking for changing of it. And even if he does ask, the law prohibits him to change the nature of it. No court can change it. So no problem with certainty.
Thank you for summing it up so eloquently, because it would be in the best interest of the public if our politicians and lawmakers abstain from misrepresenting facts and in fact indulging in misinformation. And with that, it's time for a quick break here on The Right Stand. But up next is the exclusive details of a dialogue that's taking place between the Taliban and China, where Xi Jinping's regime is moving to recognize the Taliban government in exchange for security guarantees. Is this the changing nature of diplomacy for China? We'll be deep diving into that, but after a quick break.
Those for the question say aye. Aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it.
Social media will soon be banned for under 16-year-olds in Australia after a new law sets a benchmark with one of the world's toughest regulations targeting big tech. It forces tech giants from Instagram and Facebook owner Meta to TikTok to stop minors logging in or face fines of up to $32 million.
We know there is widespread concern and evidence about the severe mental health impact of social media on children. We've seen
a parliamentary inquiry this year heard evidence from parents of children who self-harmed due to social media bullying. Domestic media backed the ban, led by Rupert Murdoch's News Corp.
I'll quickly pull it up.
16-year-old user Eni Lam acknowledges its potential harm, but says it is deeply ingrained in society and the law will force young people to more dangerous parts of the internet.
With such a clear-cut ban, I believe that it will only create a generation of young people who will be more technologically literate in bypassing these walls.
The ban also faced opposition from privacy advocates and some child rights groups, but 77% of the population wanted it, according to latest polls. Speaking on behalf of social media platforms, Australia's Digital Industry Group Managing Director Sunita Bose said the bill was rushed through Parliament.
In some ways it's cart before horse because we have the bill, but we don't have guidance from the Australian government around what are the right methods that a whole host of services subject to this law will need to employ.
In submissions, Google and Meta said the ban should be delayed until an age verification trial finishes, expected in mid-2025. The country will be watched as a test case as a growing number of governments look to implement similar legislation.
Today I can announce that
The ban, considered a political win for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, could strain Australia's relationship with key ally the United States.
Come here.
Ex-owner Elon Musk, a central figure in President-elect Donald Trump's administration, said in a post this month it seemed a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. Australia has also made social media platforms pay media outlets royalties for sharing their content, and now plans to threaten them with fines for failing to stamp out scams.
And I feel like people under the age of 16 right now wouldn't know how to live without their phones and social media. Like, it'd be a really hard change for them.
I think it's good to have some sort of limitations for younger kids because there's a lot of stuff online which is quite dangerous and scary for young kids to see.
Somos una generación.
We are a generation that is called technological for a reason, because social media are part of our lives. I think that we should find another solution rather than prohibit social media.
Otra forma que no sea prohibiendo las redes sociales.
Penso sia difficile, ma penso che sarebbe ottimo.
I think it's difficult but great. It's an initiative that makes a lot of sense in Australia, and one that we should bring here to save the next generation from a filter like social media that filters life and doesn't allow you to be completely yourself.
Completamente se stessi.
I don't think it's a good thing, really, because I think that it's not going to stop it, and also the government's taking control of things that is parents' responsibility, because parents are going to keep still using their social media, aren't they? And their kids are going to be watching them doing it, so what's the point, really?
I mean, like, not to sound like an old fart, but when I was a child, it was my parents' responsibility to not police, but, like, you know, enforce what I was doing and, like, make sure that I was not, you know, exposing myself to any harm. And I think that maybe a government intervention is probably unnecessary on such a wide scale. I think potentially there needs to be a lot more education for parents about what potentially is available on social media to their very young children, and then it should ultimately be, I feel, probably more their responsibility than like a government-wide ban on something like that.
I'm feeling very angry. I feel that this government has taken democracy and thrown it out the window, and how can they possibly make up these rules and these laws? And
Welcome back. This is a CNN News 18 mega exclusive, and in fact top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18 they've got us the inside track on discussions between the Taliban and the Chinese government, brought to us by the investigations editor Mr. Manoj Kumar Gupta. These are details of the meeting between Mohammad Nabidari of the Taliban and Yu Xiaoyong, the special envoy of the Chinese government. Sources are saying that China wants to recognize Taliban officially and is ready to mediate in the region. However, Beijing has put strong conditions before moving ahead in business and investments with the Taliban. China wants a complete crackdown on the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, or the ETIM as it's also known, and has told the Taliban officials that it is not satisfied with the work done so far. The Taliban has so far refused to treat the ETIM like ISIS, also adding that it wants weapons from China to deal with the possibility of further action coming from America. Let's quickly go across to Siddhant, who's joining me on the phone line to expand on those breaking inputs. Siddhant, it's interesting that China is now changing its priorities. Nonetheless, its interest in Afghanistan remains constant. What can that be attributed to? Security, connectivity, or its access to resources?
Well, all three factors, in fact, Akanksha. And in fact, if you see that since the collapse of Kabul, China is perhaps the first few major countries to send an ambassador to Taliban and perhaps to initiate talks with the Taliban. And now what Manoj Gupta is reporting is perhaps on the similar lines, that China wants to recognize Taliban officially and ready to mediate in the region. China puts strong conditions before Taliban before moving ahead in business and investment. China wants complete crackdown on ETIM, not satisfied with the work done so far. Taliban refused to treat ETIM like ISIS, wants weapons from China to deal with America. In fact, CNN News 18 accessed the inside track of meeting between Mohammad Nabi Dari, first deputy of Taliban, and Chinese counterpart. And who is representing China, told Taliban counterpart what is very important for the government is the security of citizens, which is being challenged by the ETIM and some other terrorist group. Another Chinese concern was United States is trying to make this region insecure and they may once again enter the region. So there's insecurity. At the same time, the resources in Afghanistan, perhaps the trade route is something which China is eyeing on. And also given the amount, the kind of attacks that are taking place in Pakistan, especially the CPEC, which is crossing through Pak-occupied Kashmir, and those areas, the disturbances have perhaps also kind of put a pressure on the Chinese government to move some of the investments from Pakistan to Afghanistan. And also Afghanistan is a resource rich country. Then there is a lot of land bank also. And since Taliban and the government of China have a very good understanding, now China has come to this conclusion that they can take this relationship forward and perhaps can start huge investments in Afghanistan. Afghanistan always has been a geographically very, very significant country. And in fact, now China, given there is a vacuum because the Western countries and allies have not, established diplomatic ties with Taliban. So it's an opportunity. China is looking this as an opportunity to enter Afghanistan and perhaps to exploit the resources and stuff. Back to you.
Absolutely. Would be interesting to see if China can use its leverage over Taliban to in fact deal with the ETIM, which remember also has connections with the ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Many thanks to you, Siddhant, for bringing us all those inputs. And with that, we take a quick break here on The Right Stand. But up next is how Hindus continue to be in the line of fire in Bangladesh with calls to ban the ISKCON organization, with condemnation in fact going global, with voices from Britain and even the United States. Is the Yunus government now turning a blind eye to atrocities against Hindus? We'll find out.
Those for the question say aye. Against, no. I think the ayes have it.
Social media will soon be banned for under 16-year-olds in Australia after a new law sets a benchmark with one of the world's toughest regulations targeting big tech. It forces tech giants from Instagram and Facebook owner Meta to TikTok to stop minors logging in or face fines of up to $32 million.
We know there is widespread concern and evidence about the severe mental health impact of social media on children. We've seen
a parliamentary inquiry this year heard evidence from parents of children who self-harmed due to social media bullying. Domestic media backed the ban, led by Rupert Murdoch's News Corp.
I'll quickly pull it up.
16-year-old user Eni Lam acknowledges its potential harm, but says it is deeply ingrained in society and the law will force young people to more dangerous parts of the internet.
With such a clear-cut ban, I believe that it will only create a generation of young people who will be more technologically literate in bypassing these like walls.
The ban also faced opposition from privacy advocates and some child rights groups, but 77% of the population wanted it, according to latest polls. Speaking on behalf of social media platforms, Australia's Digital Industry Group Managing Director Sunita Bose said the bill was rushed through Parliament.
In some ways it's cart before horse because we have the bill, but we don't have guidance from the Australian government around what are the right methods that a whole host of services subject to this law will need to employ.
In submissions, Google and Meta said the ban should be delayed until an age verification trial finishes, expected in mid-2025. The country will be watched as a test case, as a growing number of governments look to implement similar legislation.
Today I can announce that
The ban, considered a political win for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, could strain Australia's relationship with key ally the United States.
Come here.
Ex-owner Elon Musk, a central figure in President-elect Donald Trump's administration, said in a post this month it seemed a backdoor way to control access to the internet by all Australians. Australia has also made social media platforms pay media outlets royalties for sharing their content, and now plans to threaten them with fines for failing to stamp out scams.
And I feel like people under the age of 16 right now wouldn't know how to live without their phones and social media. Like, it'd be a really hard change for them.
I think it's good to have some sort of limitations for younger kids because there's a lot of stuff online which is quite dangerous and scary for young kids to see.
Somos una generación.
We are a generation that is called technological for a reason, because social media are part of our lives. I think that we should find another solution rather than prohibit social media.
Otra forma que no sea prohibiendo las redes sociales.
Penso sia difficile, ma penso che sarebbe ottimo.
I think it's difficult but great. It's an initiative that makes a lot of sense in Australia, and one that we should bring here to save the next generation from a filter like social media that filters life and doesn't allow you to be completely yourself.
Completamente se stessi.
I don't think it's a good thing, really, because I think that it's not going to stop it, and also the government's taking control of things that is parents' responsibility, because parents are going to keep still using their social media, aren't they? And their kids are going to be watching them doing it. So what's the point, really?
I mean, like, not to sound like an old fart, but when I was a child, it was my parents' responsibility to not police, but like, you know, enforce what I was doing and like make sure that I was not, you know, exposing myself to any harm. And I think that maybe a government intervention is probably unnecessary on such a wide scale. I think potentially there needs to be a lot more education for parents about what potentially is available on social media to their very young children, and then it should ultimately be, I feel, probably more there.
Welcome back. Now, the Bangladesh government continues to be in the spotlight given the continuous attacks on the Hindu community from Islamist forces. Homes and businesses have been destroyed while several Hindu communities have been displaced amid the communal clashes. There continues to be demand to ban ISKCON even after Bangladesh's High Court rejected the request to ban the Hindu organization. More and more questions are now being raised against the Yunus government for turning a blind eye to the violence against Hindus, with voices emerging from the United Kingdom, even the United States. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has also called on the Yunus government to ensure the security of minorities, saying that failure of the Bangladesh government only exposes the complicity in heightened communal tensions and violence. But the question remains, is Bangladesh still a safe nation for Hindus?
position on the matter is very clear. The interim government must live up to its responsibility of protecting all minorities. We are concerned at the surge of extremist rhetoric.
They are free to hold protest. That doesn't mean that our state of our religious harmony has eroded to some extent that these people were forced to hold protest.
Whatever the change of government has been in Bangladesh, it cannot be acceptable that religious minorities are persecuted in this way.
A lot of times the Hindu community, when they are persecuted around the world, unfortunately, fewer people speak up about it. Well, I'm committing to doing the exact opposite. And I'm calling for the world's human rights and religious freedom organizations to do the same.
Also, the other big question is, where does this leave the ISKCON, which is also in the eye of the storm? And joining me right now is one of ISKCON's most spiritual leaders, Gauranga Das Prabhu. Many thanks to you, Mr. Prabhu, for joining in as ISKCON's governing body commissioner for Bangladesh, now to even having mulled a ban on a spiritual and peace-loving organization like ISKCON. What does it speak of Bangladesh's judiciary, and what is the message that you'd like to send out to the government, the interim government of Bangladesh?
ISKCON has very wonderfully and seamlessly worked in the society in Bangladesh as in other countries, and we have expressed our serious concern, and we have strongly denounced the arrest of Chinmay Krishnadas, the spokesperson for Bangladesh Sammilito Sanatani Jagaran Jyoth. And we have also condemned the subsequent violence and attacks against Sanatanis in various regions of Bangladesh. And we have urged the government authorities to promote peaceful coexistence for the Sanatani community. And being in more than 120 countries across the world, we have experienced in many countries where we are minorities as Hindus that this kind of various episodes or periods of political turmoil does happen. We have initiated very extensive dialogue with the government of India and the Ministry of External Affairs. The minister himself, Shri S. Jaishankarji, has been very, very helpful, and they are in extensive dialogue with the mission in Bangladesh.
All right.
And we hope that very soon things will be normalized. And our biggest concern is to make sure that more than the 120 centers which we have in Bangladesh and the hundreds and thousands of devotees we have, they are actually protected. From another perspective, Bangladesh also holds a very special place for ISKCON because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his parents, Jagannath Mishra, and his forefathers, they all appeared in Sylhet in Bangladesh. And way back in 1502, Lord Chaitanya himself, when he was a young person, visited Bangladesh and spent some time. He went to Sylhet to see his ancestral home. Please protect the civil rights of all the Sanatanis, including Chinmay Krishnadas. And thirdly, please implement immediate and effective measures to maintain peace and harmony amongst all the communities in the country.
All right, you've also said that any person or in any country who is following its own religion peacefully should be respected. And as far as Chinmay Das's arrest is concerned, what do you have to say, considering sedition charges have been slapped against him? The Ministry of External Affairs today also said that they are respecting the decision of the Bangladesh judiciary and the government as long as there's a free and fair trial and the legal process is followed.
ISKCON in Bangladesh has very clearly made a statement that Bangladesh is the birthplace of the devotees there in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is their ancestral home. The devotees there of ISKCON in Bangladesh take pride in being citizen of Bangladesh. And so many acharyas and saints, as I just mentioned, were born. As citizens, all of them are committed to peacefully collaborating with both the current and the future governments of Bangladesh. And therefore, ISKCON asks the government and the authorities to ensure justice for all and allow every citizen to practice their religious freedom in accordance with their beliefs and conscience. Because ISKCON Bangladesh remains devoted to peaceful coexistence as also the promotion of human values. So we hope that the government and the relevant authorities will recognize the situation and take peaceful actions to restore harmony and guide the nation towards communal unity.
And yet, Mr. Das, the Attorney General of Bangladesh has referred to ISKCON as a fundamentalist organization. How do you respond to such accusations?
Well, Akanksha ji, the word fundamental basically means two things. One is that one considers oneself to be superior to others and they feel that they have certain strict norms, secondly, which, makes them very unique. Whereas we can see that ISKCON in the last 56 years of existence has spread in more than 120 countries. We have 1100 temples across the world. We are spread across all continents and we have distributed almost 560 million pieces of literature in more than 80 languages. And as you know that in India itself, we are distributing almost 4 million meals of food every single day. So we have always been integrated with part of society, and right from Russia to Europe to countries in Africa, South America, North America, we are in multiple diverse communities and countries. And therefore, practically all over the world, people are aware that considering the current mental health crisis the world is going through, one of the most positive contributions is being made by the temples and the devotees of ISKCON in helping create transformation in the mental health in a very positive manner.
Thank you for sharing the contribution that ISKCON has been making globally. And since you're talking about that, I also want to ask you about the contributions that have been made by Chinmoy Das so far. Do share with us if you've had any interaction.
I have, because ISKCON is a very global organization, I have not personally interacted with him.
All right, but are you satisfied with the kind of role the West is playing with regards to an intervention? Many are questioning that why are human rights bodies silent, whether it's an Amnesty International or even the UN?
Yes, I work with the Govardhan Eco Village of ISKCON in Palghar, which is accredited to United Nations Environment Program, United Nations Committee for Combating Desertification, UN Biodiversity Council, United Nations Economic and Social Council. And definitely, I feel that not only UN, Amnesty, but all other bodies which are concerned and connected with protecting human rights should be very much vigilant to these kind of episodes, and whether it is east or west, north or south, protection of human rights is a global phenomena, responsibility, and each and every person involved who actually can possibly add value in this should come forward in this hour of crisis and make sure that human dignity and values are protected in the current situation in Bangladesh and normalcy is restored.
My last question to you is, yesterday the Bangladesh High Court said that they will not impose a ban on ISKCON because they have faith in the government and that it is acting lawfully. How lawfully do you think that the government is acting? Is it even taking the necessary measures that were being attributed to it by the Bangladesh High Court, considering it was only yesterday that the ISKCON in Shipchar was forcibly shut down, even the devotees taken away?
Currently, the ISKCON leadership in Bangladesh is in close communication, coordination, and having continuous exchanges and dialogue with the government and with the relevant agencies. And, I have been informed that a lot of progress is being made in this dialogue, and therefore the official ISKCON Bangladesh press release, which has come out, and you must have also gone through it, has mentioned the same, and let us wait and watch, because people on the ground are dealing with situation, and it would not be fair on our part to comment on it on media at this stage. And that is the latest from our leadership in ISKCON Bangladesh.
Gauranga Prabhudas, thank you so much for giving us your precious time. We do hope peace eventually prevails in Bangladesh. And with that, it's a quick wrap from my end. Thank you so much for watching. Up next is Brass Tacks with Zaka Jacob.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Supreme Court has completely stayed any proceedings of the lower court in the Sambhal matter, which had ordered a court-authorized survey of the Sambhal Jama Masjid based on a petition moved by a Hindu monk which claimed that this was the site of a 16th century Har Har Mahadev temple, which was, according to the petition, later destroyed by Babur, the Mughal ruler, who then went on to build the Sambhal Jama Masjid. The AIMIM, which is Mr. Owaisi's party, had moved an urgent plea before the Supreme Court, saying that after Ayodhya, you cannot start digging up thousands of mosques across the country, claiming that there was a temple there once upon a time. But Hindu groups argue that this is a civilizational reclamation project